Imagine a man who spent his days in uniform, sworn to protect the public. Neighbors saw him as just another officer serving the law. But at night he transformed into one of the most terrifying criminals in American history. For decades, no one knew his name. He was a ghost, slipping in and out of suburban homes, leaving behind a trail of broken lives. And the most chilling part, he was hiding in plain sight. This is the story of Joseph James DeAngelo, the ex-cop who became the Golden State Killer, and how DNA technology finally unmasked him after more than 40 years. From the mid-1970s to the mid-1980s, a wave of brutal crimes shook California. Families were terrorized, couples tied up, women attacked, and murders carried out with precision. Law enforcement struggled, communities lived in fear, and the men responsible seemed unstoppable. He became known under different names: the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, and later the Golden State Killer. But what no one realized back then was that this predator was a police officer himself, someone trained to enforce the law while secretly violating every rule of humanity. Joseph James DeAngelo was born in 1945. After serving in the Navy and fighting in Vietnam, he trained as a police officer. He first worked in Exeter, California, and later joined the Auburn Police Department near Sacramento. On the surface, he seemed like a normal man, but even during his police career, warning signs appeared. He was once caught shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent, strange tools that would later echo in his crimes. When he lost his job as a cop in 1979, neighbors thought he just faded into obscurity. No one guessed he was living a double life. It started in the mid-1970s with a series of burglaries. Small at first, homes broken into, items stolen, but soon the crimes escalated. In Sacramento's suburban neighborhoods, women living alone became the first targets. The attacker would break in at night, often wearing a mask and gloves. He tied victims with shoelaces, blindfolded them, and threatened them with weapons. But it wasn't just about stealing or assaulting. He took his time, taunting victims, eating food from their kitchens, whispering terrifying threats. For hours, when couples began to be targeted, the attacks became even more horrifying. He would tie the man up, place dishes on his back, and warn that if he moved, both would die. While the man lay helpless, he assaulted the woman nearby. The crimes multiplied: over 50 rapes across California, and eventually at least 13 murders. He often struck in quiet, middle-class neighborhoods, leaving residents terrified to even sleep at night. Back then, DNA testing didn't exist. Police departments across California struggled to link the crimes. In Northern California, he was called the East Area Rapist. In Southern California, he was known as the original Night Stalker. For decades, no one realized it was the same man. And the irony, DeAngelo himself, as a former cop, knew police tactics. He listened to scanners, studied investigations, and stayed a step ahead. He knew how to cover his tracks, and when pressure grew, he disappeared only to resurface later in another city. By the late 1980s, the attacks stopped. Many believed the killer had died, moved away, or was in prison for another crime. In truth, he was living quietly in the suburbs, raising a family and working in retail. For decades, investigators refused to give up. They preserved the DNA evidence from crime scenes, hoping that one day science would catch up. That day finally came in the 2010s with the rise of genetic genealogy. Detectives uploaded the killer's DNA to a public genealogy site similar to services like Ancestry or 23andMe. The results didn't give a direct match, but pointed to distant relatives. From there, genealogists built family trees. Slowly, the net closed in on one man, Joseph James DeAngelo. Investigators secretly followed him, collecting DNA from items he discarded like a tissue and a door handle. When tested, it was a perfect match to the decades-old crime scene samples. After more than 40 years, the Golden State Killer had a name. In April 2018, officers surrounded DeAngelo's home in Citrus Heights, California. He was 72 years old, living a quiet suburban life. When confronted, he reportedly muttered, "I did all that." The arrest shocked the nation. Neighbors described him as grumpy, but harmless, never imagining the kindly old man next door had once been a monster who terrorized the state. In 2020, DeAngelo appeared in court, frail and sitting in a wheelchair. He pleaded guilty to 13 murders and admitted to dozens of rapes and burglaries crimes that had haunted survivors for decades. He showed little emotion, barely speaking above a whisper. Judge Michael Bowman sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Survivors and victims' families finally had a chance to face him, telling their stories in court. Some described their lifelong trauma, while others looked him in the eye and said they were no longer afraid. Joseph James DeAngelo's case remains one of the darkest examples of betrayal an officer sworn to protect, who used his knowledge to destroy lives. For decades, he thought he had escaped justice, but science, persistence, and the determination of investigators finally unmasked him. Today, the Golden State Killer serves as a reminder that evil can hide behind ordinary faces, even behind a badge. And it also shows the power of modern DNA technology, which continues to solve cold cases once thought impossible. So what do you think about this case? Should genealogy DNA databases be used more widely to catch dangerous criminals, even if it raises privacy concerns? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a case.